Hey fellas, welcome back to Let's Roger That. I'm Jill. Today, let's build a 20-ton shop press. Let's go. So what I got here is a 20-ton King Canada shop press. It's hydraulic, and that is the model, in case you're interested. You can even scan this puppy here for all you techies. All right, comes in 3 boxes. It's got a safety grill, then the rest of these parts. And what I like about this is that this C-channel is actually like good stuff. We're talking about, you know, 1/4 inch C-channel. So it's not flimsy crap. There's 200 pounds worth of steel and accessories here. So let's put that together. All right, so I've unpacked everything and laid it all out for you to see what's here. So this is really nice stuff. The powder coating is well made, and I used to do this stuff, so you know, I take note of it. Not that it really matters. I mean, this is gonna crunch stuff up, right? Press bearings, whatever. But it's nice, and that means it won't rust on you. And if you're in Canada, it'll most likely freeze, just like me. Now, there is a manual. It only has 2 pages. The rest is all, you know, worrying about your safety. It does go step by step in how to build it up, and of course, the parts that are involved. So here are the parts. I've lined them all up for you guys. Isn't that sweet? And as far as tools goes, it's a really simple deal. You're gonna need a 17, 19-inch wrench, or not inch, but millimeters, a 14, and an adjustable wrench for when you're ready to tighten things up. Now, you might want to use a ratchet. That's all good. So here are the parts. Let's go quickly over it. You know, here are the adjustable pins. Of course, this is the part that the crank, the nice big dial. Here are your retention clips for your adjustment pins, etc. And this is the stuff that you're going to use to press. So let's build it. First step is to assemble the leg portions. So you're going to take 2 of these. You're going to go like this, and we're going to attach them to the left side post. We're going to use the bolts for the number 19 wrench. All right. So that's the first thing. Okay. Now, so this. When you assemble this, make sure the bolts face outward. It just makes sense if you're going to slide the table up and down that you want the bolts facing out so that there's no interference. Now we need to link both of these together. Okay, we're going to link the two posts with this. And I might have messed up. Put the bolt through here, into here. There we go. Okay. And now it's going to work. Okay. Okay, now we're going to do the other post. This is where you got to be cautious, okay? So don't do anything unless you're comfortable with doing it. Just put something underneath that crossbar. There you go. Temporarily put this here to pull this together. Make sure this stays there. Put bolt number 2 in there and see it lined up. So now you can put up, if you can hold it there, put a washer, off washer, and your bolt. Not going too tight here, just ish. Just want to hold it in place. Now we need to put in the upper cross arms. The two cross arms at the top go in this orientation. So it takes the big bolts, and I'm not sure the bolts stick outward. So I'm going to take one bolt, one nut, just to hold them in place and then get myself oriented. Alright, here's one. Here's 2. Remember, I'll put the washers and lock washers after the fact. I'm just getting set up here. And of course, I was wrong. The bolts go inwards. So from the outside in, this way. And there's always a good reason for the way they put the bolts in. So I might as well follow the instructions as best as I can. Okay, so at this point in the process, once you've installed the first top cross member, this plate has to be installed. And if you're working by yourself, you got to be darn careful, right? So what I've done is I've clamped it over here, and that's what it looks like on this side. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide, I'm going to slide the other beam through and then put a bolt in place. I tried it different ways. This is the only way you can do it. Okay? So, let's see if this works. Yeah, okay, great. Don't worry about the bolt falling on the floor. You have another one, put it through, done. Right? Clamps helping support. Just put one in place, just to get secured. Alright, 2 bolts, done. That's never going to fall now. That's the curse of working by yourself. It can be hazardous. You just got to stop and think. Putting my lock washer and all that stuff in place. So I'll install the next two, sorry, and then go back to the first one and just a quick support. Here we go. Washer, lock washer, and line up. I can do the other one now, might as well, in here. Replace it with what it needs to have, which is the lock washer and lock washer. Put that in place. And so that'll take care of these cross members and that plate. And that plate is what is going to hold the hydraulic cylinder at the top. Now what I'm going to do is now tighten all the bottom nuts and bolts, and then I'm going to square things up and then come back up, do the same thing, and there's enough leverage here, it shouldn't be an issue. I forgot to mention that these bolts here, these are 24 millimeters, so if you don't have the proper socket, just use an adjustable wrench and that'll do the trick for you, okay? Now, and of course, don't forget to do the other side. Alright, now we've got to install that cylinder on that upper, those upper cross arms, alright? So before we do that, we have to remove this great big nut. That's going to secure this cylinder from underneath. So put that over here, remember the orientation. You take this and put it on. Okay, so now I'll insert that in there. Just like that. Take that great big nut and then screw it into this cylinder. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take these and we're going to insert them into equal holes. So I'm just going to pick these randomly. Alright. Now, that came with 4 clips, right? 2 on each. So put that on. There you go. Now what we need to do is take those, the bed support and put them here. Alright. Be careful that stuff doesn't slide on you or fall on you. Okay, like that. Now remember, the holes on this thing are oriented in a certain way, right? So they've got to be lined up. Go at the back, put in the other one. Now, remember those long bolts we had? We have to put those in. Now what we need to do is fix the table cross members, and for that we're going to need those long bolts and these bushings here. Okay, so bolts will go in, slide the bushing in the middle of the 2 cross members, and then put on the washer and nut on the other side. So let's do that. And you do the same with the rest. At this point, make sure you tighten up everything as you go. Now we need to install this plate, which will support the hydraulic pump. Indeed. So bolts go from the inside out. Like this. Tighten that up, and we'll move on. Now it's time to put your pump on here. And that's where those little screws, little bolts will come in, okay? Okay, now remember this is a 14 socket. So, and one thing to note is that the holes in the actual pump mounting or framing is tapped. So that's how you're gonna put those bolts in from underneath. Now, do the rest, and Bob's our uncle. Okay, now we're at the point we need to connect this hose to this cylinder. So, remember earlier, it didn't matter where this was oriented, right? So now it matters. so we're going to connect that hose into here. There you go. And this is threaded in, this little plastic cap. So unthread the nut. That here. Take this. Unscrew the cap. Now this, you gotta be careful, okay? Don't you gotta be careful not to cross thread anything, alright? That's the thing. That's the only thing you have to worry about. Okay, so it snaps in. Take the nut. Move it on. There you go. Okay. We'll just leave it hand tight for now, alright? We can put Teflon there. There's no recommended. They don't recommend putting Teflon. Doesn't mean that you can't put it on. Like, you can. But we'll see. If I don't need it, I'm not going to worry about it. Now, one of the things I've learned about stuff like this is don't want to over tighten hydraulic lines, but it's got to be snug. So this is about a 20 socket. I'm just using an adjustable wrench. And I'm just going to snug it up for now. Okay, good enough. Alright. Now, the next step is to connect the gauge up here. So let's do that next. Now, when we get to this part, again, you're going to need a couple of adjustable wrenches to get a hold of the bottom one. Those two, the nut and the bolt are not the same size. So grab both, okay, and snap them loose. Remove this nut, this bolt, and this is where your gauge is going to go, and that's going to be your retainer nut. So we'll get the gauge. Be careful not to drop anything here, because that you only get one chance of this. Alright? It's not rocket science. You can do this. Just screw that on. Now this is bronze or brass up here. You don't want to over tighten that stuff. And when you do, you've got to hold on to both parts. Alright? So you don't want to be tightening up like without doing that. So look at the orientation, make sure you got it the way you want, and snug. That's it, alright? It's done. Now remember earlier I said I wasn't going to tighten the cylinder just yet. Well, now's the time to tighten that thing up, alright? So what I've done is I've removed, or I lifted it, and to make sure that it's bottomed out of the top. And now I need to tighten this ring. What I always suggest you do is get yourself one of these rubber wrenches. It's really handy. And just give it a snug. That's it. We're done. Now remember that grill guard that we had earlier, we looked at? You're probably wondering how the heck we're going to use that. Well, here's how it works. Essentially you got this here. Right, and then there's tapped holes in there. So you're just going to take your bolts with a lock washer. Put this here for a second. Remember, lock washer in first, guys. Washer, Put that in here, and then fix it on. You know, if you've never operated one of these presses, please be careful. These are very dangerous. All right, so put those on and use them if you can. Okay, so here's the grill. And see this bolt, this nut that's welded at the top? That's a stopper, so that you can slide it in downwards, and then that's just a retainer. So let me show you how that works. So first, loosen these up. Then you put that in here. And those nuts retain it. That's it. So when you want to use it, you simply have to lift it, tighten it in place, and you're good to go. Okay, so let's do it just for fun. So let's say we're doing something. Put that here like that. Get rid of the snug. That's it. You're protected. Right? And then you don't have to go store that thing everywhere and not wonder where it's at. It's always here for you. So now let's go have a look at how we get to use this hydraulic pump. Alright, so that's the pump we're going to use in order to drive the cylinder down. Alright, so let's zoom in on that for a second. See that knob right there? That's to allow the flow to pump up into the unit. So to do that, to be able to pump, you gotta turn this and close it. Don't crank on this thing. There's no need, okay? Now, all you need to do is pump this, and then the cylinder is gonna drive down in to push whatever you're trying to press. All right? And then when you're ready to let go, you just unscrew this and there will just retract. Let me show you how that works. We'll focus on the cylinder itself up here. All right. Actually, let's look at the whole thing. All right. So first of all, close this valve. That's what it's called. It's a valve. Okay. And look at this. Takes a few pumps and then it starts going down. So you'd have your piece here that you're pushing against. So you push as much as you need. And when you're ready, now check this out. I'm going to open the valve. And that part retracts back into the cylinder. And that's as simple as it is. If you've never used any type of hydraulic system before, like this one, it has this dial, this gauge, to allow you to see how much pressure is being applied on the part, right? And clearly here, from 0 to 20 tons, right, the top numbers are in tons, that's considered to be its effective range. If you go past that, now you're into the danger zone, and I would seriously recommend that you don't go there. Right? Now, we don't know exactly the effective range of these things. I would recommend you always stay on the safe side of things and don't go to its maximum. That's just bad practice. All right? Now when you look at the shop press, you have this black plate that's there. That's just like a retainer plate, right? So say for example you put a spindle in here and you want to press out or press in some bearings, you would have another adapter, that would look like a socket, a ratchet socket, and then you would have your spindle here sitting on here, and then the socket would push in your bearing onto the spindle. Going very nicely. Definitely press fit. Now this is 7/10 of 1/1000 oversized shaft, so gives me what's
SKF called a high precision setup for radial preload. So I'm pushing this right against the shoulder, and here I am. Okay, great. Release pressure. And you could reverse the process by simply turning it around and pressing, say, on the spindle and having the bearing here so that you could remove the bearing from a spindle. So there, you know, that's how it's used, and there's plenty of videos that show you how that's done out there. Always remember to be cautious, okay? Be safe, have fun, and then live to be out here another day making some stuff in the shop. So here's the Shopprex fully built. I think I'm getting good value for my money here. I paid $560, so with tax it was $625 from a place called Ride Out Tools. That's where I bought my milling machine. This is a King, clearly. Good, heavy, sturdy material. There's nothing felt flimsy on this thing. There's always tons of uses that you can make with that. You can bend metal, you can do all sorts of things. So look around, be creative, have some fun. Remember, be safe. And like this thing is nice and tall, so you don't have to bend down and you know, kill your back trying to work. So I hope this was useful to you. Please like and subscribe. Leave me comments if you have any. And take care, folks.